One of the problems with working with an emerging standard like HTML5 is that not everything is compatible with other browsers. Modern browsers understand certain parts of HTML5 and CSS3, but not all. Internet Explorer 9 offers excellent support for HTML5, but earlier versions of Internet Explorer still dominate web use. Safari, Firefox, and Opera all offer great support, but since they're working with a developing standard, their support varies even within their own versions and platforms. In other words, compatibility is a mess. Still, there's some things you can do to make sure your code is as compatible with older browsers as possible. This means that the code that you build for your mobile web app can also be used and understood by non-mobile browsers. Let's take a look at some of the things that we can do. The first technique I want to show you is how to add support for new HTML tags. Some of the new HTML structural tags, like the nav tag, the article tag, and the aside tag, can be added to older browsers, allowing them to use some of the structure functionality of HTML5. Now that means that for some tags like the audio and the video tag, older browsers will still not be able to play audio and video with those tags, but they can at least use the basic structure of a page. Now somebody's already done all the work of adding those tags to older browsers. You can go to this Google Code project and get this line of code to make sure that all the newer structural tags are added to older browsers. You don't need to download anything, just copy these 3 lines of code and add it to the head section of your web app. If you're working with CSS3, you may on occasion want to add support for the different CSS versions that are available in different browsers. I'm going to add a headline tag to this document. If I want to make sure that that headline background has round edges in as many browsers as possible, I need to use multiple versions of the border radius tag. So as you can see here, I added support for the WebKit border radius, which will work in different versions of Safari and Chrome. I added support for the Mozilla border radius, which will offer support for Firefox, as well as the border radius tag that IE uses. Just adding WebKit or Moz to any CSS tag doesn't mean that that browser is going to support it. So make sure you dig around and find out for the different elements that you want to use what prefixes the specific browsers use. Another technique is to use the user agent code to serve up content to different devices. Every time a browser communicates with a server, it sends information about the current browser's version and platform. We can trap that information and then use it to serve different things to different browsers. So I'm going to add a piece of code here that detects the current user agent and prints it out to the screen. So you can see here, this is identifying this browser as a Mozilla 5.0 compatible Macintosh browser that uses Apple's WebKit for display. Every browser and every device has a very specific user agent that you can trap and then use to target the devices through JavaScript. You can also use a project like Modernizer to detect specific features of HTML5 and CSS3 and then do different things in the browser depending on the features. You'll need to download a script and put it somewhere around your web app. Here I've created a script folder and placed Modernizer inside. To use it, I need to add a script in my head tag that loads the Modernizer script from the hard drive. Then I can use that on my web app to test for different HTML or CSS3 elements and do different things depending on whether or not the device offers supports for that element. So here, for example, I'm testing to see if this browser has support for the audio tag. If it does, then I can serve code for the audio tag here and a different piece of code to use a plugin like Flash to play the audio. When working with rich media, you can also use multiple sources so that the browser serves up different versions of the video to different devices. Here you can see I'm specifying an MP4 version of a video, as well as a WebM version of the video, and a video type for Firefox browsers. Finally, if you have to offer support for very old browsers, like Internet Explorer 6, you can use Google's Chrome Frame project. Now this is a plugin that will be on your old browser and will load up all the content from your page onto a frame on top of the old browser. I'm not too sure about this feature because it involves having people install plugins that they may not have, so you can't really depend on something like this. Really, my preferred technique is one of progressive enhancement. That means that I make a page that I know is going to be compatible with as many browsers as possible, but I include features that enhance the user experience for browsers that support more of the newer tags. This means you'll have to test your pages and web apps in multiple browsers to make sure that they at least work and offer basic functionality.